I think that this is a very effective U.S. policy in terms of ring fencing his lifeline, which is effectively money. So the asphyxiation of this regime is essentially what will ultimately take it down, in alignment with wholesale desertion of rank and file members of the military and several top generals, Brian, that have reneged on their allegiance to the Maduro regime. So I think his days are counted, and that those ships, Brian, don't have hopefully too much longer to wait offshore.
Yeah, and that's the reason we showed the ships. I mean, our viewers may think, well, I don't care about ships and oil, but you might care about money and what happens in Venezuela.
Right.
And if those ships end up just going nowhere or being sold off somewhere and the money goes into U.S. trust account and it doesn't flow to the Maduro regime, how much more time, Kathryn, do you believe that Nicolas Maduro really has?
I mean, I would say it's very hard to say exactly, but I would say weeks, Brian. I mean, this is a regime that's not popular in any sense of the word. It's entirely being propped up by military guys that surround him that have had their pockets lined for years. So if they're no longer seeing the money, I would assume that their faith and their allegiance would crumble. The question is timing.
Marco Rubio coming out last night and saying that he believed it was just hours, if not days, where Juan Guaido was going to name a new board to Citgo. Citgo, a name well known to all Americans, controlled by Venezuela, one of the primary sources of money. It's very interesting, is it not, Kathryn? Because if they name a new board to Citgo, literally, we've got a major U.S. company whose board is being replaced effectively by the U.S. government. Is this a tactic that is going to work?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think it's just another pressure point, Brian, on top of this regime. So you have the combination of many countries in the world, and that list keeps growing, recognizing Guaido as the legitimate president, which really he is. Then you have the Citgo announcement with regard to the board. I think that's also important in terms of national security, because Citgo is also 49.9% Russian-owned, right? You have Rosneft in there. So there's the Russian component as well. So I would say that what the U.S. is very effectively doing, and Marco Rubio has really been the leader and taken a very important role with regard to U.S. policy towards Venezuela, is effectively to asphyxiate this Maduro regime. What we finally need is that one final straw, right, to get the military to change sides and really recognize the legitimate president and get this thing going. Brian, the next thing that has to happen here is, as soon as the government changes, get PDVSA going, get oil production right now, and a promise for the future for more production. Production has dropped 70%, Brian, in the past decade or so.